Hi, I'm Johnny from UltimatePapier-mâché.com, and believe it or not, I have my raccoon finished. I've been working on this papier-mâché raccoon for weeks now, but it's taken so long because I keep trying different things. I decided to use him for a guinea pig and just try one thing after another just to see what would work. The one thing that I kind of discovered during this process is that it would have been so much easier to just go ahead and use the papier-mâché clay recipe that's out on my website. It would have been so much faster, the skin would have been so much harder, and the finished look would have been exactly the same. I think the only reason that I didn't this time is because I wanted to try something new, and because I was thinking maybe you guys would be a little bit bored with me doing the same thing every time. I also learned that the cornstarch paste that I talked about last time takes a really long time to dry in a humid environment, and it just happened to turn really humid the day that I finished my last video. So if you live in a really humid environment, I would suggest that you don't use the cornstarch paste. I actually ended up putting this fellow in the oven. He just barely fit. It was really close. I put him on about 200 degrees Fahrenheit and left him there for a couple of hours just to get it totally dry. The cornstarch paste is so absorbent it was actually pulling water from the air instead of drying out, and so that's what I had to do. It's no longer humid outside, and so now the paste would probably work just fine. So let me go ahead and show you how I actually finished this fellow. Last time you saw him, he was all blue, and I painted him with just one layer of the homemade gesso that's made out of Elmer's glue and drywall joint compound. And a little bit of the blue still shows, but not enough to actually affect the color. It's not going to show through the paper. The other thing I experimented with was a clay, air dry clay that I bought online. It's a beautiful clay. It's going to be really fun to play with for something else, but it didn't work for this project. So I did end up using my epoxy clay, which worked really well. And I found a video online that showed me exactly how to use it. I had tried it before when I hadn't seen that video, and I didn't really like it, but now I like it a lot, just because the addition of water both to the clay itself and to my my hands and the tools just made it so much more workable. I really like it. You can get some incredible details with it, and it sticks really nicely to paper mache. It dries really hard, so I'm definitely going to keep it on hand. Not for doing huge items. I wouldn't want to cover this whole guy with it because it's just too darn expensive, but for small details it's perfect. Now for the fur, I'm going to say I was inspired by a guest post by Pedro Rodriguez. I'm saying inspired rather than actually doing it like he did it, because I started out right from the get-go doing it a different way, and so it just turned out that I wasn't able to actually see if his method would work. The big thing that I did that was different was he uses toilet paper, which is really soft paper. I wanted to use colored tissue paper. The colored tissue paper is harder, so he rolls his tissue paper up before placing it on a thin bed of white glue, and then he puts glue on top of that, just kind of soaking it in, and he makes feathers that way. Makes a really nice sculptural effects on his small sculptures. I couldn't roll up the colored tissue paper, so I ended up doing it totally different, basically. But thank you, Pedro, for giving me the idea anyway. What I did was I tried using the colored tissue paper just by kind of wrinkling it up using the white glue, and then I decided I would try using my cheapo brand of gel medium instead, because I kind of like it better than white glue. And I did like it better. I tried both of them. I liked the gel medium better, and so that's what I ended up using. I didn't do enough experiments so that I would know what all of the color combinations do when you put one color on top of another color. So I probably should have done that. I did have to do a little bit more messing around once all the fur was on there, just to get the colors right by adding some paint. But I'll show you how that was done. The basic process with the tissue paper was to paint on the gel medium, put the tissue paper on there, wrinkle it up, and then put some more gel medium on top so that it was completely saturated. And then you could put another color right on top of that, which would be slightly transparent, not totally, but slightly. And then I also kind of pushed into the gel medium with a knife. That the texture you're seeing right here does not end up showing on the final piece because the gel medium completely soaks into the paper and kind of disappears, which is actually kind of nice. But what it does do is it kind of organizes the wrinkles a little bit better, flattens them down, and it makes it easier for the papers to be totally in contact with each other so you get more transparency. And then I kind of cheated by using some acrylic paint. I did make the patterns with the tissue paper, but you just couldn't get quite the details that I really wanted. So I gave it just a little bit of help with some paint on the face and on the white stripes on its tail. And then in order to get the colors a little bit closer, I used my golden glazing liquid along with a small amount of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, and mixed those up together, brushed that mixture over the dried fur, and immediately wiped it off with my blue shop towels. I have plenty of those hanging around right now. And that just gave me just a little bit of the reddish brown that you see in a real raccoon's coat. And that, I think that really helped to bring everything together. So that's all I have for you today. Be sure to come and visit me over at ultimatepapermache.com. You also, just to make sure that you don't miss anything, you might want to subscribe to my newsletter. So when we get guest posts, or when I do a post that doesn't end up on YouTube, you'll still be able to find it. Right now, I'm actually already started another experiment. I'm trying to teach myself a really fast way to reproduce mask designs so that it would be possible to make multiples of them without having to wait for each one to dry in a mold. I'll let you know if that turns out and if it works in my next video. So until then, thank you very much for watching this video, and come on out and visit me, ultimatepapermache.com. I'll see you there.